Welcome back to 316 Soccer Show. Peter Espinosa, Cliff Brown, Blake Shoemaker, and joining us now, number 22 for the Wichita Wings, Brian Cushing. Brian, thanks for taking some time to come talk to us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
All right, before we get into coming back to the Wings and your experience back with that, let's talk a little bit about Pro Soccer Store, Sports Zone. For the holidays, first of all, a little bit of a plug here, holidays. After holidays, get out there and get all your holiday shopping done at Pro Soccer Store. That's where I buy. I brought my little brother a birthday present and a Christmas present from there this year, in November and in December. Anything special going on? Specials, sales going on out at Pro Soccer Store right now?
The biggest thing that just took place is yesterday we got stocked with Wings merchandise.
As
of today, we're almost out of it.
I think
Yes.
Peter might have known that, and he's trying to get it 25% off or something by plugging.
Well, it sounds like I can't anymore because they're all gone.
yeah.
There's one on the wall right now.
And we do have the our replica jerseys in as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, and
the black or orange or
The
both?
black.
The black, and you can actually get them online as well. So wait, they're actually out. I mean, everything's close to being out.
It's pretty close.
And is there going to be a restock soon for?
We hope so. We try to restock it as quick as we can.
All right, so you might have to pick your spots and get out there and maybe get a little lucky, but no, it's going quickly.
I just want to know, is this a conflict of interest that he's on the team and he's selling the merchandise as well? Is there some issue there?
No.
Ethics? I don't know.
I
I
mean-
mean, talk about that.
I mean, he's
Yeah, it's a
and
pretty
he's doing
salty
well.
contract, right? I provide training facility, equipment, and I want to get paid to play.
I think he did those things in lieu of being paid to play. That's the enticement that they actually took him back.
That's right. Smart negotiations.
All right, now, you know, before you got here, we were talking a little bit about you coached for 7-8 years in Kansas, and recently one of the kids you coached has gone pro. Tell us about him and what that was like to see, you know, one of the kids you coached go pro.
Don't forget, when you say he's coached 7-8 years, you're talking about the youth, but he also worked college for how many years? You've been my assistant coach there?
In about 5.
About another 5
Yeah,
years. that worked in college.
always correct me if I don't have the correct information.
That's a good 12 years that he's been involved in coaching in soccer here in the Wichita area. I think that's fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was fortunate years ago to take over a team that Eddie Henderson actually started. It was pretty much all ODP players that he handpicked and hand-selected through some tryouts. And the team went on to have great success over the years, obviously attributed to him to begin with. And then I just try to step in and fill the voids and coach along the way. One of the guys, he went on to Newman and played for Cliff. I was fortunate enough at that time, I think I stepped in his junior year and became an assistant there about that time. And since then, we've both just tried to open some doors for him, and we found him one in Cincinnati. And so he's been playing there. He's in his second year now in the PASL Pro.
And what's his name?
Will Papard.
He's out of Rose
Oh,
Hill.
I actually played against Will in high school.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he was,
Yeah.
he's one of the leading
He
scorers.
was probably one of the best players I played against.
He scored how many hundreds of goals in a season? I don't know. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
But for us, he was a defender,
Yeah.
and he was a fabulous player. 4 years, he was all conference. He was there during the shift to NCAA Division II, and he was our first team all conference player. He was our first team all region player. And then when he graduated last year in 2010, in December, he went straight to Cincinnati, trained with them, and then they signed him to a contract immediately through
Yeah.
Brian's contacts, actually.
Yeah, and also while he's been out there, he's also got involved in college coaching
Yep.
and in the club scene and doing individual training. So he's doing just like all the other guys have done, and he's giving back to the game.
And college teaching.
Absolutely, he's the director of
He's
the
an
business
adjunct,
program
yeah,
or whatever.
So would you say he's happy about where he ended up?
Well, we
He-
couldn't talk him into coming back to the Wings, could we?
He's in a great spot out there. Ultimately, he would love to come back and play for Wichita, though. Absolutely.
So maybe in the future,
Absolutely.
that would be very cool to see another Wichita guy or Rose Hill come back and play for the Wings. Now, anything more youth-wise before
Yeah,
we
on
move
the
on to the
discussion of
Wings?
youth soccer,
Yeah.
we kind of missed it. Brian is a general manager, runs the local indoor soccer facility at the Sports Zone. Also has his hands in a lot going on with the corporation that owns how many facilities nationwide?
25.
25. That's pretty amazing. And he sees as many youth players this time of year as anybody does. Is there more teams registering right now with the rebirth of the Wichita Wings?
Right now, I'm about the same as I was last year. I do anticipate, though, the longer the Wings stick around, the bigger that number is going to get.
Sure.
Just like it used to be, back when I was a kid, playing. The game took off because of the professional team, and I expect to see the same thing over the next few years.
And we were running multiple buildings that were full at that time, too.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
Yeah,
Not to hit you
I
in the
mean,
pocketbook,
We had-
but what
in
about
the old
expansion?
days, yeah, we used to have not just what was Soccer West, which is where Sports Zone is now. You had the Arena East for a while, you had the Sluggers, in the old days you had the Soccer Club as well, which went through different names, was Soccer Club at one point.
Kicks.
Kicks, yeah, several, but all those buildings at that time through the eighties, they were full. That's when you had Kicks and Arena and Soccer West, you had all three of those, and you didn't have
Simultaneously,
room.
yeah.
Yeah, you didn't have room
Yeah.
in the buildings.
All
And,
right.
and that's where we're at now, is you're booked from 7 a.m., sometimes earlier, to midnight,
Absolutely.
every day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. During the holiday time, I'm fortunate enough, I play the older kids that can drive. Today they started at 9 a.m.
Wow.
They play all day long. My last game will be done at midnight tonight.
That's great.
I've played in a couple of those late 11:15, 11:45 games lately.
Is there any advice from not only growing up here, but seeing the difference in the youth game? These guys, the kids aren't as indoor ready as players used to be. You go out, you watch the Wings, you have indoor camps, and you understand the boards, and not only playing it off the boards offensively, but the boards are your friend as a defender. We see a lot of kids just randomly kicking it. The balls will roll into the boards, and they'll let it hit the boards before they make a play and get the ball on their foot. Do you have any advice? What's one thing you can tell these kids? Hey, to transition into the indoor game, what's the single most important thing that's different from the indoor game to the outdoor game, in your opinion, that they could apply immediately just from advice?
The biggest difference is the speed of play. The indoor game is so much faster than outdoor. You have a lot more time out there to put your foot on the ball, pick your head up, see what's going on. In indoor, you need to know where you're going before you get the ball. Otherwise, you're going to get creamed.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And you know, we've had this problems with my club, and I've seen it with a lot of other teams. It's hard to get kids off the pitch. As a coach or handling the door, you know, it takes 2-3 guys to run an indoor bench, and you're trying to pull kids off the bench, and they just don't sub fast enough. So they get in trouble. They're used to running a 5-minute outdoor shift or more, maybe some of them most of the game, 90-minute match, and 2 minutes, and they don't have any legs, and you can't get them to come because they don't feel like they've been out. And I think that'll change, going out and watching the Wings and just hearing it from us.
And that's a big thing, they need to see it, we've been preaching it and telling the kids, but you know, you go to a Wings game, and that first shift is usually 30 seconds.
Absolutely.
30 seconds, and when they don't get off in 30 seconds, like the one home game, when one player, Larry,
Larry was
one
on
of my
for 2
players, he's
minutes.
on the full 2 minutes, he couldn't get a shift off. Everybody else had been through a couple of shifts, and he was still stuck, he didn't get that rotation, and he was at fault on that goal. He was on there too long. The more the kids see that, the better it's gonna be for them to see that. You go out, you do your work quickly, you move, and you get off.
Absolutely.
Speaking of short shifts and making the most out of their minutes, Brian, congratulations, you've done great with that. The goal to minute ratio for home games for Brian Cushing right now has got to be off the charts, right? It seems like he just pops in, backside goal. So
I don't know, he steps in on the pitch, and the next thing I know, he's standing on the dasher boards.
yeah.
And that, you know what, I was gonna do the transition for us into Wings. You guys did it perfectly because that was gonna be my first thing. What I think is those dashboard celebrations. As long as you keep scoring at home, I think the fans will come back to see that more and more.
Does he get a bonus for celebrating in front of Wing Cartman? Seems to be the only guy
'Cause
that,
that's the side
runs
that-
over
that's the
there
side
and
that Wing
stands in
sits
front of the
on.
loge box with his hands in the air, right?
And you know, I think one time Freddie joined you, but it's been you and because Mulai always goes to the other side.
Mulai, his is just a passion. As soon as he scores, I don't even know if he knows where he's
It's
going.
right.
Yeah,
It's one direction,
Yeah.
jumping over something or
Yeah.
hurdling it. He's not really jumping.
Yeah.
But what? All right, Brian, quickly give us a. You come back. You've scored 3 goals and all at home. You know, when you score in front of the Wichita fans, you know, I mean, what goes through your head immediately? Is it a mulai or do you plan out where you're going?
I always know where I'm going because my mother comes down from Kansas City to watch the games,
Mhm.
and so I go and I give her respects for coming down.
She must sit in 110.
She does.
Awesome.
It's a good section.
You know, when I was younger and I would celebrate goals, it was just out of pure excitement. As I've grown and hopefully matured a little bit, it's more about paying my respects back to her. So, and the fact that she comes down and supports me.
So is that your interpretation of the old Chico? Chico was a big one for getting on the boards, and he would shake the boards and stand up there. So is that your version of that? Because not too many other guys have jumped up on the dasher boards over the years that I can recall.
Yeah, I jumped up years ago one time and I almost fell over him. So this time I made sure I went where the dashboard met the glass and I had support so I wouldn't fall over. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, I want the crowd to be excited. and it's a way to get them involved and let them be a part of the action.
Absolutely.
That's a
You've got a
connection.
personal connection
Yeah.
outside of the wings with most of these people. And you know, out of 5,000 people there, Brian may know 3,000 of them, or they feel like they know him very well, which they do. And that's great. You can tell from the moment he gets announced to when he scores, they're absolutely recognizing him as a local soccer icon at this point. So that's great.
And that's, that's something we talked about. We're talking about his coaching in the youth and stuff, and where we're seeing the youth programs going. You gotta realize he benefited from some of those same things. He had some of the coaches when he was growing up, and he's a product of the youth soccer development, okay?
Absolutely.
And it's great to see these guys have been in the pros and are in the pros again, and we've got new guys coming in as well now. I think it's fantastic.
Growing up playing with those guys, how about the '96 Newman team that recently got inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Right, and that was loaded with.
Wichita players
Well,
that Brian grew up
it
with.
was really loaded with players off the Bandits organization, out of a couple different age groups, and that was the big club back then, really, it was one of the biggest ones. And probably 80% of the Wichita players, maybe 90% of the Wichita players were out of the Bandits organization.
Yeah, some of those guys come to the top of my head. Gary Tucker, always loved Gary.
Of course.
Hung around with Darren Snyder at Soccer West, whose parents own Soccer
Well,
West.
I've known
great guy.
Gary and Darren since I played for the Wings. Darren was a little kid that held my feet when I did sit-ups.
Yeah.
I'd say, hey, come on, hold my feet.
I held Darren's feet
After-
when he
after-
did sit-ups.
After
so.
training, I made him come hold him, and he used to talk about that. And he played on my minor cup teams when he was a 15-year-old kid. He'd come play on my men's team when we were in the national championships. And Gary, Gary's another one, and Gary's still the all-time leading scorer for Newman.
Yeah.
Still holds the record.
Amazing.
So, and he finished in
Classic.
97 was his last year playing.
Who else? Larry Enlow, Jamie Hardy. These three Wings players right now played on that team.
Law.
Kevin Law,
Kevin
who
Law.
played pro, and
Kevin owns a business here in Wichita
yeah, he
now,
has
right?
Pacific Coast Pizza.
Pacific Coast Pizza. Where's that at?
That's over on just north of 25th.
Mhm.
25th on Rock Road,
Jeez.
just south
yeah.
of Rock.
All the Wichita Soccer Newman grads that are running businesses now. We got Pro Soccer Store,
Yeah.
Pacific Coast Pizza.
And we got a
It's
few
awesome.
others, yeah.
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 Who else? Any other local guys on that team, Brian? we missed anybody? Ryan Cummings, was he on that team? He may have been a
Brian
freshman.
was
He was on the
Right.
team, but he wasn't. I don't think he played.
Didn't
for
play
the
a lot of
Bandits.
minutes.
No,
Yeah, no,
he
he did.
actually-
He
no,
played
he
for
played
the
for
Bandits
the
a few
Bandits.
years
Okay.
younger. Yeah.
No, he
okay.
had Paul Schaefer, Rich
He-
Ritter,
Steve Wing.
Schaefer.
Steve Wing, several guys.
That team, you guys recently were inducted into the Newman Hall of Fame, right?
Absolutely.
96 team.
That
yeah.
team was legit. That was
That was a
salty
solid
squad.
team. They didn't lose too many games, and when they did, they bounced back quickly, and that was the biggest thing. They had a tough schedule. I deliberately scheduled where we sometimes have, quite often during the season, we had 3 games in 5 days, because my goal was to prepare us for the national tournament, because that's the way you play at the tournament. And when we got there, they were ready to go. We didn't lose a game at the tournament. We tied both games 1-1. It was pool play like World Cup at that time, and we were eliminated on our draws.
How about playing for Cliff as opposed to coaching with Cliff? Has he calmed down at all in the
No.
last decade? No.
No, he hasn't calmed down at all. He's still a demanding coach, which is great because you want to maximize what you can out of your players, and obviously you're trying to achieve great things. Which, if you see his office, you'll see what he's achieved. But yeah, he still comes to practice full of energy, very vibrant, ready to go, always pushing the envelope out of everybody, taking it to the next level as much as he can.
Yeah, but he's also a nice foil to my personality. We tend to be kind of the yin and the yang, I'm the fire and he's the ice, and he's the guy that calms guys, talks to them, and I kind of jump on him, and I can be pretty fiery and pretty demanding, like he said. And sometimes that's good, and sometimes it can have his downside, and he's been a great asset for me to play on the other side and kind of keep things calm. One of the stories I've always told about him is when he played, he was the same way, and we were in a game, and it doesn't matter who we were playing, but we were playing, and we actually fell behind like 2-0.
Yeah.
And I was getting a little irritated on the sideline, and I was getting ready to really lay into the guys. And he jogs by and he goes, "Relax, coach, we've got this." And they ended up winning 7-2. And I just sat back and said, "Okay, see what he does," and they took it. So that's his personality. He's still that way as a player.
All right, Brian, before you leave us, are you about tired of the trips to Milwaukee? You guys have made 3. It's a 13-hour bus right there and back. I mean, I go with you guys. I know I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
Is the team getting pretty spent on those trips?
I just want a sleeper bus.
Exactly. That's all I'm asking for.
I'll be okay.
You know what? I heard the Overland Charter Arsenal doesn't even. They're not giving us one because they don't have one.
They are just now getting one, like within the next week or so. So hopefully we'll get one for our February trip.
The February 10th trip.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sick of the bus ride because it does stink, and it hurts, your body's sore. At the same time, it's a great bonding time with the fellas. Because on the airplanes, everybody just is gonna sleep anyways.
Mhm.
So this way, we get a lot of bonding, and it is fun, but it's definitely not the same when you don't have a bed.
All right. That is Wichita Wings, Brian Cushing. Brian, thanks for joining us. Get good rest over the holiday, and we'll see you in Missouri on the 28th. All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Brian Cushing, we will be right back with more on the 316 Soccer Show.